Hello and welcome to Triathlonology, a triathlon podcast by Animis racing team. I'm Oliver.
And I'm Jackie. We are a mum and son coaching team who have changed our lives through the sport of triathlon.
Our podcast aims to break down the mysteries of triathlon training and show you, the listener, how simple and flexible it can be so that it really does become part of your lifestyle and not just a hobby. Hello and welcome to another episode of Triathlonology, a podcast by Animis racing team.
I'm Coach Jackie.
And I'm Coach Oliver, and together we're a mum and son coaching team based in South Yorkshire and North Lincolnshire in England. And this podcast gives out our no-nonsense advice and opinions about triathlon and our indomitable Yorkshire style. So today, we are in Portugal recording this episode, but we're having to sit inside because the weather's a bit rubbish, as it has been all week.
It's a bit windy, and wind and podcasting don't go together.
No.
So, and I agree with Oliver, it's not been its usual sunny self in Portugal, but that's...
You can't control the weather.
No, and it's the same for the most of Europe at the minute, so...
And it's a good lesson for race day because you can plan that you're going to go and do it at a sunny location or somewhere that should be warm, but might not be.
No.
So you've got to be prepared for everything.
So what we're going to talk about today, Oliver?
Well, today's episode is going to be about whether you can train for an Ironman on 10 hours a week. And the answer to that question will be, yes, you can.
You can.
You can. You might have thought that Ironman training is only for like ultra rich and ultra fit.
Yeah, you've done like 94 Hydrox competitions. Is it Hyrox or Hydrox?
Hyrox. Hydrox are
tablets.
What are things that you put in your eyes for hay fever?
Might be.
But if you did think that was the case, then you're in for a right good surprise because we're going to tell you that it's not for any of those things. Triathlon is for everybody, as we always say, and real people can do triathlon and can do an Ironman on 10 hours a week. It just sounded a bit mad because every pro that you'll follow on Instagram, every amateur pro, you know, the type of person I mean, where they've got a business but they still manage to do 30 hours a week training and don't really know how they're fit at all in.
No.
But they all make it look like you can't do anything long course without having to do long hours. But that's just not the case. So can you do it on 10 to 12 hours a week? Yes, you can. If you train smart, not just hard, you can absolutely do it.
You don't need to be clocking 20-hour weeks or giving up your weekends to
Entirely.
entirely to the pain cave. This is about training that fits around life, your job, your kids, and importantly, Yorkshire team breaks.
Yes, that is the fluid of life for us, and it certainly has been for me while I've been here. We've brought a box full out with me.
Because there's no other tea.
No, everything else is rubbish. Just don't give me. In fact, I now carry some in my little man bag when I go travelling, along with my sweetness, so that I'm ready for anything, and some squeezy pop.
That's been prepared, Oliver.
It is because you know like they're not going to have it away, and you can't get by for a few days without it.
No.
So, in this episode, we'll break down some of the biggest myths in Ironman training,
the 4 principles that keep you progressing without burning out,
what a 10 to 12 hour week actually looks like if you're doing an Ironman,
and how to recover properly.
And we'll also talk about how to train without the rest of your life going to pot. Because it's really simple for that to happen.
It is, yeah. So let's crack on with this.
Let's tackle first this myth of endless hours worth of training that you've got to do. Head on. So somewhere on the line, someone you know or somebody you've come across in a magazine says, oh, you know, Ironman training, particularly if you want to be at the point in the field, has to be 20, 25, 30 hours a week. It's just utter tosh.
So unless you're chasing a corner slot or looking to win the thing, you don't need to live like a monk and train like a maniac. For most of us, normal people with actual lives, that volume is just not sustainable.
No, and you'll eventually break something if you do that. What matters most is consistency over time, not smashing out a monster week and then spending the next 2 injured or exhausted. It's about a slow and steady build up over months. And I've used this analogy quite a lot, although I don't actually know how to do it. But if you think of building a house, You've got to slowly, you've got to put your foundations in, and then you've got to slowly stack on the bricks on the top of that and make sure that they're in a straight line and they're all even, unlike that work we've seen down the road from here, which is absolutely shoddy.
Shocking. Yeah.
Would never pass a college test.
Yeah. So a steady stream of 10 to 12 hour weeks, done right, will give you a solid house. Trying to stack 30 hours in 1 week is like trying to build a bungalow with jelly.
Yeah, or that brickwork down road, which we'll take a picture of so Mindy can put it into the podcast because it's shocking.
Yeah, terrible. And they've been going 2 years.
And they've only done half a wall. It's terrible. So don't fall into the trap of trying to do every session every week. That's how people burn out. You don't need intervals, long rides, bricks and technique all crammed into 7 days. What you really need is a plan that makes sense and a plan that allows you to be flexible in case things happen in your life.
The body responds best to clear cycles of work and recovery. Trying to do it all every week leads to overtraining, which isn't just a physical problem. It messes with your motivation, your mood, your sleep and your immune system. And let's face it, your wife or your husband or your kids are not going to thank you for that.
No, burning out, what's the point in burning out 6 weeks before race day just to prove that you're tough and that you can do it? None. It's just daft.
Yeah, proper daft.
What's tougher is training smart, staying consistent and rocking up on race day feeling strong and ready or fit and fresh. And we'll talk about in another podcast, if we haven't already, what our definition of tough is.
Yeah. So how do we make those 10 hours a week count?
It's not just about the time spent, it's what you do with it. So here are our 4 pillars of smart training.
So 1, prioritise key sessions. Each week should centre around 2 to 3 big hitters. Your long bike, so think endurance and nutrition practice.
A structured run, which might be intervals, tempo or hills, or a key session on the treadmill.
A focused swim, so that's a swim with intent, not just, as our mentor Brett Cottells says, dicking about in the water.
Well, yeah, and also it's not just a question of going swimming and just going up and down constantly without having a break, because I see so many people doing that in the pool with me, and I just think you'd be so much better if you did 100 metres and had 10 seconds rest than just swimming for 50 minutes. You're just tiring yourself out unnecessarily. So those are your cornerstones. If you hit those consistently, then you're on the path to Ironman success.
Everything else, easy sessions, strength type drills, mobility, yoga. Well, we don't really do yoga, but that's the icing, not the cake.
Yes, so if you want to keep those in, then they're great add-ons to add. We won't be prescribing them because you've got 10 hours a week, 10 to 12 hours a week doing Ironman. You haven't really got time for doing gym or yoga, but if you want to fit that in a session around that, fine. But as I say, that's icing on the cake. Number 2, plan with the Sunday special. So every Sunday, we sit down with a brew and we look at your week and we look at all our athletes' week. What days are busy for them, what days are more flexible, and we make sure the key sessions fit around their lives and not the other way around.
So if you know Thursday's going to be a horror show at work, we won't put your hardest run session there. You're not weak for adjusting, you're smart. Life isn't predictable and your training doesn't have to be rigid to work.
A third pillar is understanding session hierarchy. Now, not every session carries the same weight. There are every session is a stone. Some are diamonds and some are rocks. Your diamond sessions are more likely to be big rides, your effort swims, some above tempo runs, but they are really short in terms of frequency across your week. And then there are support sessions. These are the majority of them. If something has to give, one of them can go, but best if you've got a coach to ask, because we can help figure that out for you and say, we'll readjust your week. We can move things around and we can get you back on track. So stop feeling guilty for missing an easy spin, but start worrying if you're always missing your long run.
So what we like to do is to train to race, not just to train every session. So every session needs a purpose, not just to make you tired, but to make your race ready. That means thinking about pacing, about fueling, about effort control, not just seeing how many watts you can push on Zwift. You're pushing and you're preparing for one long, hard day. So we need to stimulate that day by bit. So it's not looking at your watch, it's using your head and your heart and seeing how you actually feel. That's your best computer.
So what does a 10 to 12 hour week look like if you're training for an Ironman, or particularly with us? Well, let's break it down into something that you can understand without necessarily going into the in-depth of the session. So Monday might be a gentle recovery swim, so something like lots of, maybe 20 or 30 100s or 40 50s, 50 50s, pull boy paddles, nice and easy. Priorities to sort of recharge and reset for the week.
Because you will have had a hard training day on Saturday.
Tuesday will be a hard bike session. So usually big gear sessions for us. They're really keen in the work that we do.
Yeah. And Wednesday it would be a focused swim. So like race pace, we would set endurance sets and really stimulating that swim that you're going to do in the race.
Thursday, more like a fartlek type effort. So again, maybe something on a treadmill, maybe like a Yamrahula session or a Monogeti session.
Love a Yamrahula.
Friday might be an easy ride, easy run. Saturday is definitely most likely going to be a long bike session because most people have got it, but that can be interchanged with Sunday, which we would sometimes prescribe as a brick session. So you can do a bike with a run off it, or you can do a swim with a run off it, anything like that.
We also need to prioritise, whilst you're doing those big sessions, is your nutrition, because that's going to be the key thing on race day. So you need to practice what you're going to do. And some weeks you're going to hit all of it. You're going to have all green in Training Peaks. If you use Training Peaks, you'll know what I mean. Some weeks life will punch you in the face, and that's fine, because the plan is a guide, not a prison sentence. And
the structure works because it gives you your 3 key sessions and a mixture of disciplines, and then recovery is built in and around that. And best of all, it respects your time. We're making sure that we're putting you at the front of it and not the training plan.
Because, as we said at the beginning, you still need to be married or in a relationship and have got a job at the end of this.
And your kids need to still think you love them.
Yeah.
What also is important to remember when you're doing an Ironman or a half Ironman prep is that recovery is also training. It's not laziness. Recovery is where the adaptation happens. So if you are getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning to cram all your exercise, all your training in before you can go to work and get everything wrong, and you're cutting out sleep, you're just doing it wrong. If you are ignoring fatigue and pushing through every session and just going all out for every single one, you're not being smart, you're just being very, very reckless. What does good recovery look like? Well, 7 to 9 hours of decent sleep every day.
Yeah, that doesn't mean broken sleep. We need to have deep sleep.
Proper fueling after hard workout. So protein in that golden hour, having complex carbohydrates. Sometimes a rest day, because sometimes you just need a mental break from everything else, and a rest day is fine. Stress management. Yes, that counts as well, because you're busy at work, so you've got to apply that into your cup of life for your training as well. Being consistent is the most important thing, and working around that. Life happens, and you know what? That's fine. You're not a robot. Life is always going to get in the way, and that's just how it is. We've just got to accept that as a basic fact.
Yeah, you don't need to be perfect to finish an Ironman, but what you do need to be is consistent. Because we've talked about Kelly, who we coached last year to do Ironman Italy. She hit every session, and she was so consistent, and she went from nothing to completing an Ironman in under 14 hours, which is pretty fantastic in my opinion.
Some weeks you'll do 12 hours, some weeks you'll barely just make 6. But the trick really is to sort of zoom out and see the bigger picture. Like, what do your last 4 weeks look like, your last 8? Because consistency, as we've said, is built over time. It's not day by day, or it's weeks and months on top of each other. If you're trending upwards in your training and your consistency, brilliant, because that's how you build fitness without wrecking everything else in your life.
Yeah. So one of the other things we want to talk about is mindset, because it's the mindset that gets you there. So
Yeah, Ironman's not really about being the fittest on the course, because you have lots of fit people who end up walking in the race. What it's really about is, can you pace yourself well through all of the disciplines? Can you stay calm and not get sucked into somebody else's race or ego fests and trying to overtake people on the bike? How do you show up to session after session, week after week, even when it's hard? It's about making sure you're taking on all your fuel and hydration during the event, because otherwise you'll end up blowing up.
And it's about having patience and resilience and a sense of humour. Because, I mean, you might not think we've got one, but we do, don't we? Yeah. So what we're saying is, don't chase perfection. There's no such thing as perfection. Nobody's perfect.
You cannot let perfection cannot be the enemy of good. Good is fine.
And don't panic if you miss a session.
Yeah, it's absolutely normal if you miss a session. You just move on to the
That's
next
life.
day. Your body won't really mind if you miss it, but it will mind if you try and cram it back in.
And most of all, don't compare your journey to anyone else's.
You can't really compare where you are to everybody else. You ought to think of life rather than like a hill, or training rather than like a staircase that goes round, like an old-fashioned one. Everybody's at different points at the staircase, and people start different points in the staircase based on what they've done previously in their life. That's fine, but you will eventually get to the top of that staircase. But you can't judge yourself by how fast other people do. So just focus on yourself and be a bit tunnel vision about it.
What I was also going to say is, you see lots of people on Instagram going, oh, I'm doing this session today and I'm doing that session today and I've done that, this, that. Don't take no notice. It is not. Instagram is not real life, in my opinion.
No, it definitely isn't real life. No chance. You're building towards your race, your goals, and your finish line. Stick to that. It's not somebody else's race and somebody else's plan. It's yours.
Yeah, and when you cross that finish line, it's your glory, no one else's. So, there you go. It is possible to train for an Ironman on just 10 hours a week. It's totally doable. You just need the right mindset, the right plan, and the right approach.
Yeah, stop chasing volume. Volume has a place, but only if you've got the time to fit that in. If you're part-time, if you're retired, if you're a full-time athlete, that's where you can get volume in. Start chasing purpose. If you want help cutting through the noise and building a plan that works for you, your life, your family, your schedule, come and join us at Animis Racing Team. We have lots of experience in plotting this for people and lots of success in doing that.
Yeah.
We coach real people with real lives and real goals.
Yep, and we do a lot of it in person.
Yes, we do a lot of on-deck coaching, and even when people are having on-deck coaching for swimming, we still end up afterwards talking about other sessions and how we can do things with them. So it's about knowing what to say and when not to say it, isn't it?
So you're not going to need any excuses if you come and join us. You can do an Ironman in 10 hours. You just need the right plan and the right people to help you do it.
And support from everybody is the key, really. That's like the overarching key. If you can have an overarching key, you can't, can you? But you know what I mean. That is your foundation. Your training, support is the foundation for your Ironman success.
Yeah, so you need everybody in your team. That includes not only your coach, but your family, your workmates, your friends, because they're going to help you on race day. It's having that. It's knowing that everybody's behind you that's going to get you to the finish line. Because when things get tough, and they will get tough, there's make no bones about it. There'll be times that are really dark in that race, and you think, why have I done it?
Points in your training where you think, I can't do this, and I'm not going to get anywhere, and why am I even still doing this, and what's this all about? And it'll be your support system that helps you carry you through and helps push you on to that next bit.
Yeah. So, if we've inspired you, or you think, I really like to find a bit more about them two nutters from Yorkshire.
And how you can do less training and
Be more effective.
and maintain all the things in your life that you need to do, then get in touch with us either on Instagram at Animis Racing Team or on Facebook, or email us at info@animisracing.com. Comment on the show.
We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you. We'll be more than happy to have a conversation and see how we can help.
Yeah, and we'd like to be part of your journey.
Yes. So, until next time, we'll see you.
Thank you for joining us today.
See you next time.
See you then, or as we say in Yorkshire, City.